Hi, it's Alex here with Bride-to-be Couture, and we have Josue from the Uncommon Weddings, who happens to be a B2BC preferred vendor of ours. And we asked him to come here and join us so that we can know what we should ask before we book a vendor, and especially a videographer. So thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
All right, well, let's find out what makes you different from your competitors and what made you focus on weddings.
Yeah, of course. So this is a question I get asked all the time. And I think it's a really good question.
Yeah.
It's up there on the top of our list of the questions that you should ask your your vendors, that brides should ask their vendors before they book them. And number one, I think that's a really important question because if you're a bride, you're getting so many inquiries and pricing sheets and attachments and emails and texts from all these different vendors, and sometimes it's hard to weed out the ones that are truly the diamonds in the rough.
Right, absolutely.
And so that question right out the gate, if the pricing makes sense, that's the first question you should ask, because it will pretty much do, by asking that, it'll kind of put the ball on the vendor's court and say, hey, you tell me why you're better
that makes
than
sense.
all the other 10 quotes that I got this week.
Right.
So for starters, with us, the Uncommon Weddings, I mean, it's in the name. My team and I are really, really focused on trying to provide an experience for our couples rather than just a service.
That's great.
And so that's kind of what makes us uncommon and why we are the Uncommon Weddings. One of those examples on what we do differently and what makes us stand out is offering these super cool video memory books that I showed Alex the other day. These video memory books actually showcase your wedding in a physical form, and actually when you open them, check this out. It actually starts playing your wedding video on the book. So this is actually a wedding that we did for one of your guys. From one of their brides. So this was super cool. This was actually a gift to them, but I wanted to show it to you guys that stuff like this, it's hard to know about in that initial inquiry. So it's really good to ask that question to just kind of get a differentiator right out the gate.
Exactly. And how long have you guys been in business?
So we have been in business for going on our second full year.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we are super busy this year, super busy already booking weddings for 2020.
Okay. And then how many do you book within a year? How many weddings?
Yeah, so the number of weddings that we're doing in Northern California this year right now is about 60. So we are a team of videographers. And we are pumping out weddings on a monthly basis. So we're busy, but not too busy to also offer a great experience. And this is actually, she just asked the second and third questions on our list. So do keep in mind, these questions that she's asking are the questions that we think are important to ask other vendors. And the reason that question was important is because let's say you ask your wedding videographer or any other vendor for that matter, how many weddings they're booking, and they say 1 or 2 or 4 for the year. That could be a red flag. Maybe they're kind of new to the game. On the other hand, if they're booking too many, and maybe it's a team of 1 or 2 people,
then a bride and groom might be a little too exactly. You have too much on your hands.
Exactly. And so if it's a small team and they're booking over 100 weddings, then it's okay, what's that communication going to be like? Right. Are they going to have enough time to answer my emails on time? Right. Is the editing as a turnover going to be a year from now? These are sort of things to keep in mind when asking these questions. So we're on number 4 now. Okay, cool.
Exactly. So he said it before, he has done personally one of our brides, my bride to be, she was mine and she was great. So do you have any other place besides your website, or if it's not listed on your website, for your reviews so brides can kind of get an idea who you worked with and everything like that?
Yeah, exactly. So reviews are super important to, reviews are posted on the website, on our Wedding Wire account, on the Knot, on Yelp, pretty much anywhere where our name is.
So you just type it in and pops it up. Okay.
Yep, yeah, and this is also a good question to ask if you're shopping around for a wedding vendor and you don't see reviews on their website. It's good to ask, hey, do you guys have references? Are there reviews, somewhere else that I hadn't seen? Maybe there's a reason there's no reviews on the website.
Right, exactly.
So that's a good question to ask too if you don't see them right away.
That's perfect. Question number 5. Yep. Do you have liability insurance?
Yes. So this is a great question to ask. Also, super short question that could also be a deal breaker.
Yeah, I feel like it's like to the point, and it's one of those.
Unfortunately, it is, because a lot of your venues that these couples are having their weddings at, a lot of them actually require their vendors to have liability insurance. Yeah. And so it would be a bummer if if one of your guys' brides went through this entire process of trying to find the perfect vendors, and then at the very end their venue's like, hey, by the way, we actually require vendors to have liability insurance, and that could throw the plans just like out the window and have to start over.
Then, exactly, start your search again. Okay, and what's your payment structure?
Payment structure, yeah. So our payment structure, super simple. All that's going to be required to lock in your date is 1/3 of the total payment as a deposit up front, and then the remainder of the payment actually won't be due until we're ready to deliver the videos to you guys. So that's a little bit different than other vendors, which is why this is a great question to ask also, because a lot of vendors require the deposit. Maybe sometimes it's half up front, and then the other half is due like the day of the wedding or like the week before the wedding. Right. The reason we don't like doing that is, one, we don't want to put additional pressure on you the day of your wedding. Exactly. Like, there's already enough things that you are going to be thinking about. And on the wedding day, the week before the wedding, it's already super busy, and we just want to push that off after the wedding and just say, hey, like, technically our work isn't done until after the wedding too.
That's true. Exactly.
So we still have work to do after the wedding. In fact, the most of the work is after the wedding. With all the editing. I can imagine.
I was going to say the editing and everything that goes down.
So that's usually 60 days after the wedding is when that turnaround / payment due date will be.
Okay, I think that's really great, because it's super stressful. We get brides all the time that are trying to budget, because weddings aren't cheap, and figure everything out. So that's great.
Yeah, that's one less thing that I want my brides not to be worried about, especially on their wedding day.
Exactly. So you talked about your team. So will you be the one at the wedding, or is it your team that kind of structures everything?
Great question. So this one is super important, and one I actually like to clarify at the very beginning of all the calls that I get on with all of my brides and my couples is I do actually have a team. So one of the other things that makes us different is that I myself, as cheesy as it sounds, I call myself the director of dreams for our team. And so what that means is I am solely focused on the experience of the brides that we're working with and the couples. Right. I want to show them that their wedding day is super, super special, and we care, and we're truly honored to be a part of that day. Right. And so that is my sole focus. My sole focus as far as like being a participant in that team. Right. However, I do have videographers. Some are really close friends of mine that I've met here in Sacramento in the Bay Area that I work with. So I won't necessarily be your day of videographer. My team of videographers, I wish I was as talented as them. They are truly blessed with super, super video talent. And so they're actually going to be the videographers on the day of.
So you're the go-to man.
Yes,
and then
I'm the point of contact. Yeah, and I work with my videographers, my team, to bring the experience and the service, combine them together, and hence make the incredible weddings. Yeah.
And then, so talking about them, do you guys travel? Is that something that you do? Is there extra fees to have you travel for a bride's wedding?
Yeah, so this is a great question. Also, because it is really common for a lot of vendors to charge extra for travel. It makes sense. I mean, if there's a wedding in like San Jose and you live in like Sacramento, that's a few hours of traveling there and back, and that could be like a full day in and of itself of just driving. So super great question. But for us, we actually charge no travel fee. So anywhere from like another plus from San Jose all the way up to like Chico, everywhere in between, like Sacramento, Napa, Bay Area, it's all sort of included in that final package price. So depending on if you're shopping other vendors, do keep in mind that I do know vendors who like try to, you know, get you booked, get you all excited, and at the end they're like, oh, also there's
this
like,
is
yeah,
an
there's
add-on.
also,
right.
yeah, there's also like a $150 travel fee, by the way, and you're like, oh shoot.
Right.
So great question. That would be another really good thing to clarify as well.
Perfect. Well, that was actually our last question.
Cool. So that was seven.
That was seven questions that brides should know to ask all their vendors.
Yeah, of course.
But I do want to point something out to our brides. B2BC brides know that we fully thrive on being relatable, and the great thing about Josue and the Uncommon Weddings is that is a huge focus for them as well, is being relatable, being part of your special day. And he wouldn't be a preferred vendor if he didn't have the best interest of all the brides in Sacramento.
Yeah, of course. I'm super happy to be able to make this video and just kind of give you guys some, you know, give audience some insight into sort of like from a vendor, the questions that I almost wish, you know, some of the brides that I get to talk to would ask.
Right.
And because knowing the right questions to ask, especially on these initial phone calls or even just like in the initial email, will save you so much time, so much energy, and just give you clarity on, you know, and giving you confidence and clarity that you're making the right decision.
Yes, and picking the right vendor for you.
Exactly. That being said, thanks again for having me.
We're so happy
Hope
he was
you
here.
all found it super valuable. And
yes, and make sure you book with Jose. Bye.